New pension reforms are set to come in on April the 6th, meaning the spotlight is now firmly on how people plan to spend their money in retirement, and more importantly, whether they'll be able to realistically survive on it. New research by Saga shows that parents strongly believe it's important to pass on inheritance to their children, and almost half plan to cut back on their living costs to ensure they have something left to pass on. However, almost three-quarters say they would rather see their parents spend the money on enjoying their retirement rather than worry about passing it on. So the question is, are we better off living for the moment, or should we save provisions for our families? Financial expert Alex Edmans from Saga joins me now to discuss how the new reforms could affect inheritance and how also the varying attitudes to inheritance across the generations affect you and I. So, Alex, what are the contrasting views towards inheritance across generations?
Well, we've just conducted some research here at Saga which has shown some really interesting results. It showed that while the majority of people wish to leave an inheritance for their children, and some find it incredibly important to do so, the majority of people aren't actually expecting an inheritance from their parents and would rather that their parents spent their money enjoying their retirement rather than worrying about leaving an inheritance for them.
I mean, realistically, are we likely to have any money to leave to our families? People are living longer. The cost of care is so high. Medicine is coming on so much. Is there going to be anything left?
It is going to be more of a struggle, I think, especially as more people now, as they approach retirement, are still likely to have mortgages that they've got to service throughout their retirement. They may still have some debt available. And as you alluded to earlier on, if you do need care, the average cost of that could be well in excess of £37,000 a year. And that's going to have severe impact on the ability to leave an inheritance.
Now, thinking about retirement, how early should people be thinking about retirement? Because I feel like sometimes people leave it too late.
A lot of people will sort of get within 10 years of retirement and suddenly realise, oh, hang on, this is dawning, this is going to happen. I think ideally, if you can, from your very first paycheck, is the time to start putting away something, no matter how small, towards your retirement. There are significant tax advantages to saving through a pension plan, so it's well worth investigating and putting away what you can when you can. I'd also, as well, with the auto-enrolment that's been put in place, more people will be encouraged to save for their pensions through any occupational pensions available to them.
The pension reforms that are coming in on the on Monday, the 6th of April, what will that mean for people of pension? Well, maybe, like you're saying, people think about it 10 years before retirement. So for the over 50s, what does that mean? What does the reforms on Monday, what does that mean for people over 50?
Well, the reforms will have more impact on those aged 55 because that's the age you can start to access your pension funds unless you've got ill health. And the changes are that you'll have a lot more flexibility and control over how you receive your pension fund. Previously, people have been put off saving into pensions because when you reach retirement, you have to take that as an income. You can't take the lump sum out of it. So those rules are now changing from Monday, and that you can now start to take the whole amount as a lump sum if you wish, or you can just withdraw down parts of it as and when you like, as you need it. So there really is a lot more flexibility there and a lot more choice over how you take this money.
So if my mum took a big lump sum out of her pension and bought a Lamborghini, what does that mean for me in terms of inheritance?
Well, you'd inherit the Lamborghini, obviously, which may be a positive thing, but what it will mean is that it would be spent, it would be gone. Other than any assets that she bought with it, it wouldn't be available to then pass down through the inheritance. The other thing that your mum would need to think about is the tax implications of taking it all in one go, because if you do, any amount above 25% of the capital you take out of your pension will be subject to income tax that year. So you could find that having a very negative impact on the amount of capital that's actually taken out.
So as people get older, does the attitude to inheritance change? Do they care as much?
Yes, it does. As people get older, I think perhaps they're more worried about care costs, perhaps, and how that's going to be more important for them. So their view to leaving an inheritance actually feel less inclined to do so. But it may also be because they're older, they're seeing their children are dependent, that they're less reliant now on receiving an inheritance from them. But we've also found that the older you get, the less you feel dependent on receiving an inheritance from your parents, and actually you're happier for them to spend it.
It's exactly how I feel. Actually, what would your advice be for people that are listening to this and they're thinking, should I spend it now and enjoy myself, or should I just save it all and lump it away for my children? What's your advice to them?
I don't think there's any hard and fast rule. I think it will depend on each person's individual circumstances and their needs. I think the most important thing to do is to sit down with your family and talk about it. As British, we don't like to talk about money very much, but it is worthwhile sitting down, talking about what assets are available, what perhaps the children's expectations are for inheritance, but actually what your wishes are for your retirement. At the end of the day, you've got to live in the now, and if you've got care costs to pay, that's going to have an impact as well. So just sit down, have a chat, and see what children are expecting, but also review your finances, see what income you need, what expenditure you're going to have, and what assets you've got available to meet those needs.
And if people want more information, some of the nuts and bolts of how to do all that stuff, where should they go for more information?
We've got a lot of information on the Saga website, and we've got a dedicated page to this with lots of links and useful information on there, which is saga.co.uk/inheritance.
Excellent. Alex, thank you so much for joining us.